Hey, Tony Gaskins here. Now, today I'm working from home and actually working from bed. So just kick back, relight, lounging, and it's dark in here, even though it's daytime. But I just didn't feel like getting on the camera and just being all blurry. So I just figured I'd do a audio today. And the topic, as you see, is something that a lot of people you may have gone through this. If you haven't gone through it, you could end up going through it in the future, and it's really something you want to think about when it comes to, do you leave or stay? Do you choose correctly out the gate, or do you try to fix the person that you're with? And so the thing about it is, when we think about our comfortability and we think about what comes easy, what comes natural, we get caught up to where we don't like change. We don't like to start over. We don't like new things, so to speak. So if we get something, if you get with somebody and you start to like them, or you get accustomed to them, you might not even fully like them, but you just used to them. You used to being around them. You used to being with them. You may not even fully like them, and you around them. And so therefore you get to a place to where you start to just accommodate or acclimate. And it starts to be this situation of, their likes and dislikes, their quirks, and you start to move a little different to where you get on their nerves. You know how to deal with their attitudes. You know how to deal with their ebbs and flows, highs and lows. And so therefore you just stay and you get used to them, and you start to walk on eggshells, because you know what ticks them off, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what makes them mad. And you start to operate from that place. And instead of checking them, calling them out, holding them accountable, you just say, hey, I'm going to do different. I'm going to change the way I move. And I'm going to handle this in a different way. So therefore, I don't have to worry about starting over or losing them or anything like that changing. I just can move differently. And if I move differently, then they'll start to respect me, appreciate me, what have you. And what used to be your standards, your morals and your values and how you want to do things, you take and you change that, and you say, okay, I don't want somebody who smokes, but they smoke, and maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I can get over it. Maybe it's medicinal, and maybe I don't understand the properties of marijuana, and so I need to be more open-minded. Or you look and you see and you say, okay, I don't want somebody who drinks, because I don't drink. And then they drink, and you say, well, okay, maybe this is okay. Maybe it's all right if they drink a little bit. It's not a lot, so it's okay. And what happens is you ignore those signs, those things that you should not ignore. You start to ignore them. And with that ignoring, you get to a place to where it's like, okay, I'm ignoring things I should not ignore, and they're not giving me what I need, but I'm comfortable. I'm used to this person. I'm accustomed to this person. Like this, we get along. I know them well enough. And you come to that place of just knowing them well enough. And then the next thing you know, because you know them well enough, you tell yourself you don't want to start over. And everything that you putting up with, you're going to have to put up with somebody else. And so now that's what leads you to having these issues. That's what leads you to this place of where it's like, okay, now you're not getting along and you're not on the same page, but to start over is so daunting. You just can't even fathom that. It's like, listen, I don't want to go through this all over again. Like I can't stand to have to, I don't even want to think about having to start over. And so you go to that place instead. And so I say that to say, this is where we start to try to fix the wrong person instead of choosing the right person. And this is why so many people will lose their zeal for love and a relationship because of dealing with the wrong person. And so it's something that we have to think about. And you got to come to this place of realization and honesty. You got to be honest with yourself and come to that place to where you can really look and say, you know what? I'm settling and I'm selling myself short out of fear. I don't actually feel worthy of love. I don't actually feel like I deserve to be loved. I'm actually afraid to love. I'm actually scared that if I require more, I'm going to end up alone. And so we just go to that place. And that right there is very dangerous. Because it puts you in a place to where you start to be taken advantage of. And you get to a place to where it becomes a situation to where it's a lose-lose now. Now you losing over and over again because you don't have real love and you are afraid to require real love. So I say that to say you got to really put a mirror in your face and you got to check yourself. So in this process now, you start to really look and get real with yourself. And one of the things that we have talked about is you got to be able to recognize the danger of potential versus patterns. Now, potential, as my college football coach used to say, potential is different than production. So we always hear people, trying to be cute, and they'll say, oh, I ain't dating potential. Everybody you dating potential. Just understand that. Nobody is 100%. Nobody is fully where we need to be. Everybody you date, the person, if you married, you married to their potential. You are still becoming. I'm still becoming. My wife still becoming. We all still becoming. So we got to realize and understand that nobody is 100%. Now, so that's what potential is. But see, what potential is marked by progress. It's no longer potential if it's stagnant. If a person is not getting better and instead they're showing bad or negative patterns, you're no longer with potential. Now you with somebody who got bad patterns, bad habits. So you have to look at the patterns. Do they continuously do things that are not advantageous or beneficial to a relationship? Do they continuously offend you? Do they continuously try you, disrespect you, do things that do not please you, things that are not healthy in a relationship? Because oftentimes we ignore the patterns, the negative pattern, not the good patterns now. We ignore the patterns and we focus on the potential. And we will call bad patterns potential. Oh, they still a good person. They still could be a good person. They still could be amazing. They still could do amazing. They still working, hard. They trying to be better. But you really have no proof of that. No evidence of that. It's really just negative patterns over and over and over. And you holding on to what you thought was potential. And you got to be able to tell the difference. You got to go on, get real with yourself, be honest with yourself, and tell the truth about it. So I want you to think about that. The next thing I want you to really learn how to do is how to spot the red flags early and not excuse them away. So think about what you don't want to happen in a relationship. You don't want to be cheated on. You don't want to be beat on. You don't want to be cursed at. You don't want to be lied to. You don't want to be used. You don't want to be manipulated. So on and so on. So what you got to do in your notebook, hopefully you got your notebook and you actually doing the work and not just that why I ain't even on camera. So you ain't on here just to look me in my face. I'm just look white Tony mouth move. I ain't even listening to what he's saying. Nope. Get your notebook. And what I want you to do, and this is not always the easiest thing to do, but you look at the final action that you don't want. You don't want to be cheated on. And then I want you to look to the seed. What's the seed of being cheated on? Like, what's at the root of being cheated on? Being lied to? Having someone lusting after other people in front of you? Having too many friends of the opposite sex? Them being inappropriate with those friends of the opposite sex? What is the root of that? And do the same thing with being yelled at. What's the root of that? Somebody catching attitude quick, being snappy, being disrespectful, using profanity just regularly, randomly, for no good reason, being beat on. What's the root of that? Being threatened verbally, being cursed at, being jumped at. What's the root of it? So see, when you start to get to the root, you start to realize and you start to see, hold on now. These are the red flags. So in the beginning, you recognize the red flags of lying, inconsistency, low emotional intelligence, attitude problems, disrespect, cursing, yelling, drug usage, substance abuse, whatever it may be. All of these things is red flags. Controlling, jealousy. All of these things is red flags. They are the precursor to deal-breaking behavior. So when you see this stuff, you have to be real and you got to really look at it and say, hold on, is this what I want in a relationship? Is this the behavior that I'm okay putting up with and dealing with? If the answer is no, you have to get distance. Call it out and get distance. Let them know. And when I say let them, I mean him or her. Let them know, hey, that's unacceptable. I can't. That's one thing I can't do. Is be with somebody that's gonna lie, somebody that's gonna yell, somebody that's gonna curse, somebody that's gonna be abusing substances, somebody that's gonna be doing something illegal, fraud, selling drugs, stealing, whatever it is. I ain't gonna be able to do that. I ain't gonna be able to do that. So as you process that, now you see these red flags. When you call the red flags out, it is expected. The person already expecting you to call out these red flags and put your foot down and let them know that you're not going to be able to be with them if they want to continue in that way. The person already know. The other thing you got to realize is that the person already, your partner, they just trying you to see what they can get away with. Humans are on average, and you may say, oh, I'm not, but I probably will get over. We'll do whatever we could do to get over. And we got to be real about that. And sometimes it's not malicious. Sometimes it's not like, oh, I'm trying to get $1 million off of you. Sometimes it's just simply something to where you just trying to get a little extra money. You trying to get a little extra gift. You just trying to get a little extra privilege. It ain't nothing that deep. It's just you trying to just get a little extra. And so you got to be mindful of that and realize that humans could be that way, and you paying attention early to the red flags. You looking for it. You preparing for it. You ready for it. Next thing you got to do is you got to learn how to choose based on your values and your lifestyle and not just the chemistry. Values, your belief system, your religion, your morals, what you build your life on, what you stand for, what you believe. What is that? See, these values, these are things that will sustain your relationship. See, a lot of times what people base a relationship on is chemistry, and chemistry essentially is like lust. To put it plain and simple, what a lot of times what we call chemistry is lust. And I remember seeing this guy. Remember seeing him in action. Young lady, I had to tell her, I said, hey, you might want to slow down now, because you're getting finesse. And I realized after they started dealing with each other that they didn't have the same values or morals. They just had chemistry. And a lot of people confuse it. And they confuse chemistry for a genuine relational connection. When honestly, you might just like their perfume or cologne. You might like their smile. You might like their laugh, their conversation. But you could be a devout believer in a particular faith and they could be agnostic. But with a nice smile, nice smell, and great conversation, you think that, oh, this the one. And it's really just chemistry. But your values don't actually align. So in line with that, and as you're thinking of that, you also have to think about and process your standards. Your standards and your non-negotiables, which we talk about standards versus preferences, is somebody else that call it non-negotiables. But standards versus preferences, and as you're thinking about that now, standards, what's the root word of standard? Stand. What do you stand on? What do you stand for? Those are your standards. And with those standards, the standards need to be non-negotiable. See, your preferences are negotiable. So if I say, I like a woman with a nice round butt, nice old bubble butt, that's a preference. Has nothing to do with her faith. Has nothing to do with her belief system. Has nothing to do with her personality, her character, her integrity, her dignity, her self-respect. The shape of her butt has nothing to do with anything other than my preference. So a preference is negotiable. And a lot of times we make preferences our standards. And so and we will stand on and stand for and stand by our preferences. And so it's women that say, oh, he has to be 6 foot tall or taller. And we'll make that a standard. But that's a preference. Because his height has nothing to do with his integrity, with his character. Yes, it could affect it positively or negatively. But you got to think about that. You got to realize that actually is not connected to his core of who he really is. That's something that he cannot control. So standards should not be based on something that a person cannot control. Now, if you want to make something that a person can control a standard, now you have an argument. Some people make income a standard. A person can control their income because they could work harder, they could get more jobs, they could get more certification, more training, more education, and get a better job, get into a different industry. To a degree, a person can control or have some say so in their income. Not always, because like right now, I could be trying to sell something. I could say, hey, go visit my mentor.life. And visit my mentor.life and book a session with me on there. Well, guess what? The session is $500. So if you don't have $500, then I don't get paid. So it's only to a degree that a person has control over their income. Only to a degree. And if they don't have full control over the income, then how can we make that a standard? Now, it's different if a person is not doing anything. They're not working. They're not moving around. They ain't doing nothing. Just sitting down doing nothing. Now, you got a standard now. Now you got a standard. So I want you to think about that. And as you start to process this now, y'all forgive me, I was looking at this here thing that I was working on that Kenny the Jet Smith partner with a casino to beat me to. But hey, he earned it. He building a place for athletes to develop on and off the court. He got the resume to do it. God bless him. Opening doors, making a way. I need to partner with me, somebody casino to build my academy. And so I want you to think about this. And really come to terms with yourself and really get to that place to where you can say, okay, is this a standard or is this a preference? And when you get there, now you on to something. Now you on to something and you able to really decipher. You able to really decipher what you standing on, what you really believe. And that's going to shape up everything for you. It's going to change a lot for you. And if we can, in the beginning, I was talking to a client, and I talked to so many clients, and we faced the same thing in the coaching sessions. Is the clients be, 5, 10, 15, 20 months into the relationship. And they be at their wits' end, and they're like, should I stay? Should I go? And it be 1 to 3 standards that they ignored. Or sometimes you have preferences that are important. So I always talk about like age gap dating and how it shouldn't be more than 10 years. So if you take and you say, okay, I'm not going to do more than 10 years because that also plays into a person's belief system, how they was raised and shaped, the culture they came up in, the climate, the social climate they came up in, the economic status they came up in, like the music they was listening to, the influences around them, like all of that plays into this. So if you say, hey, I'm not going to be with somebody that is more than 10 years older than me, you can actually make that a standard, even though it's a preference and they can't control their age. But because it plays into a lot of other factors, if you make that a standard and then you meet this person and they outside of that, they 15 years older than you, 15 years younger than you, and then you get with them and you start to fall for them, you start to like them, and then now you and I talk 5 months later, y'all been dating for 5 months, and you're like, oh, well, they 15 years younger or they 15 years older. And I'm like, you kind of set yourself up for failure. You kind of up the creek without a paddle. Like, why did you do that? Like, that was a foundational standard of yours. Like, that was like, why did you overlook that standard? Or it's like, oh, they do this drug or they do this substance. Or I'm like, okay, well, why did you ignore that in month 1? Like, how long did you know they do that? Oh, I knew it from the beginning. Why'd you overlook it? Well, I was questioning myself. I was wondering if I was being judgmental, if I was being too hard, if I didn't fully understand it. They was telling me I didn't fully understand it, and it's not that big of a deal, and I was making a big deal about it. And it's like, hey, now who you gonna listen to? Somebody trying to get the advantage in the relationship, or you gonna listen to your intuition, what you want in your life and what you don't want, what really matters the most? And so that's what you got to think about. Got to think about that and process that and get to that place to where you can understand and see the difference there. And that's going to make all the difference for you. And then the next thing I want you to think about, and this is the final thing, so we might not get to a whole hour today, is how to leave when love isn't enough and to rebuild wisely the next time. Now, when I say love, I'm not talking about a mutual love, like real love, but you love them and they don't love themselves, and therefore they don't love you back. And so that's what I mean when I say when love isn't enough, meaning your love isn't enough to keep the relationship together and to have the relationship happy, whole, healthy, and all on the same page. Your love. So you got to understand that. When you realize that your cup is not being filled, your cup might not even be being poured into. When you realize that, that's when there's some changes that need to be made. Now some changes need to be made, and you're going to have to open up, wake up, smell the Folgers in the morning. Something got to change. Y'all forgive my son, oldest son, texting me. And so when you think about this, now you come to a place and you're like, okay, I'm seeing patterns, no longer seeing potential. I'm seeing patterns. Negative patterns, but not potential. And it's been 3 months. It's been 6 months. It's been a year. Now, this is when you have to start getting distance. This is when you realize, okay, I'm trying to fix the wrong person when I could be instead attracting the right person. So the way to know that you're trying to fix the wrong person is when they're not making progress and they're not making lasting change. A lot of people could make change for a week or two. But if they keep going back to the same old person that they was doing the same old things, then you have to realize that you being set up. You being bamboozled. And you got to get back on the right track. So I want you to think about this, process this, get this in your spirit. And also, I think I got a video. Video might be a little too harsh that I did. I might need to go back and reword it. Might be a little too real, a little too direct. But we gonna check and see. We'll figure it out. But hey, God bless you. Keep your head up. Thank you for the support. Patreon, Blessed Tribe, Blessed Business Tribe, subscribers. Also the donors of Tony Gaskin Family Foundation. Got a dinner tonight with one of the players and the parent, where we're going to be having a conversation with a management company. And so I really appreciate you. And of course, I'm covering the dinner. And just kind of something I do. But appreciate you. And we got a trip coming up. If you're on the mailing list, Tony Gaskin Academy, check your email. We got the virtual 3Bs conference next weekend, 25th through the 27th. You can get your seat on there on Tony Gaskin Academy. That's the virtual 3Bs. But then we're doing in-person networking, meetups, dinner and discussion 3Bs. So the first one going to be in Atlanta, because I got to be there that weekend, August 1st. Gotta be there that weekend with one of the boys in my program, second and the third. So August 1st, Friday night, it'll be 7:30. You'll find out the venue the week of. Our group size determines our venue. So stay tuned. Check your email. You can grab your ticket for that. These are premium, price because it's a small audience and a small group. And so check your email if you're a student on the academy. If you're not a student on the academy, go grab your course, even if it's a free one. That'll put you on the mailing list so you can stay up to date with other things that we're doing. But hey, God bless you. Keep your head up. Keep going. And all the important links is in the description. We'll talk soon.